we were just getting into the part. Of course, you have to be here before the show actually goes live to hear about what actually led up to Kyle burning down a Wendy's. But he could possibly just fill us in with, the part and the follow up, or maybe the story again. I don't know. It depends what you want to put out there for the listeners. We have a pre-show, for the Pulp Premium users, the Pyro Premium users. All right. So Kyle, how'd you burn down the Wendy's, man? Let's get straight to it.
So let's clarify. It was almost burned down in Wendy's. So
right.
I'll set the stage. I believe it was New Year's Day, 2006. I'm working at Wendy's, my senior year of high school. Only able to really work Sundays because I wrestled during the week and had school. So I go in and have an open up to Wendy's, and every week you had to flush the fryers. That means get all the dirty fryer grease out, all the chicken crumbs, fries that drop down, and scrape that all out and put it back in the grease catch thing and behind the dumpsters there. So I'm going through all this stuff, and you had to filter the things a few times because there's these filters that filtered all the crap out that didn't get filtered throughout the week. So I'm going through that, and so I start draining the thing and putting the new oil in as it's going through. I'm thinking, well, I'll save a step and I'll turn the heaters back on just so that the grease is already warmed back up by the time I come back in from bringing the trash out, and then I can do the oil next and just save just time. So I take the trash out, come back in, and I see flames shooting out of the fryer. This is like right next to where that front table, that desk thing is at, and where the cash register are. I'm like, oh shit, I'm like, that's not a good thing. So I go out and get in the lady in the back cutting the vegetables. Go, the fryers are on fire. She goes, what? I go, the fryers are on fire. There's flames shooting out of the fryers. She goes, oh my God. And so she's trying to figure out how to put them out. And I'm taking chemistry that year, and I'm thinking, well, it's a grease fryer. It's either going to burn out or we have to find a way to smother it. So I'm trying to put like cookie trays over it, and it's not sealing it properly. I'm like, well, okay, this isn't working. We're going to wait for this thing to burn out. And there's those fire extinguisher things above. I'm thinking, I wonder if those are going to go off. This other lady calls up the manager at 7 o'clock in the morning, freaking out. The fryers are on fire. So they're going through all the process to try to get these things out. Finally, they figure out to say, put salt on it. And we know that it's going to smother anything. So I'm running back, grabbing all the fire salt we can, trying to get in there and pour it over the grease. It puts it out. So I get done, and there's scorch marks everywhere. And the manager eventually comes in. She goes, you're going to scrape all that oily, greasy crap out of the bottom of the fryer, and you're going to scrub down the scorch marks. And so I was like, all right. She goes, don't do that again. I'm like, okay. So I spent the first hour where we were open scrubbing down the fryer so that there wasn't scorch marks. And I got to scrape oily grease out of the catch. But that was about the time I almost burned down Wendy's. And I figured if they didn't call the manager, the place would have been done for. But I hated working there. So I was almost successful in my subconscious efforts to destroy Wendy's.
I think my favorite part of that whole story is that the Wendy's manager knew exactly what to do. He was like, I've been through this. I've been here 25 years. I too have set the grease on fire. Let me hook you up with some hardcore grease fire knowledge.
Yep.
And then he was just like
sitting in the back with the slow clap, like
I was just standing back. I'm like, this thing's gonna go out eventually. It might take a while, but
I would also love to know what that manager was like saying to his wife on New Year's, like, hey, honey, got to go in. Some idiot just freaking set the Wendy's on fire. I got to get in there, clean that up. So, and then he rolled up in there and was like, you got to clean this up.
They didn't come in until I think like 9 or 10. So they had time to kind of process through and get ready. They didn't have to rush in there. So
that's good.
Yeah. I didn't ruin anybody's morning except that one lady. So
did you ever at any point think Frosties?
No, because it wasn't up and ready yet, though. But that would have been a good idea to put milk on it. I would think, the Frosty stuff, that would be great to put out in there. Though that might have been splashing it, where that could have been more dangerous than helpful.
Yeah.
The frozen balls, I remember throwing ice cubes in the grease, and it'd like have like a mini explosion. So I suppose throwing all that Frosty in there probably would have made things a lot worse.
Yeah. Okay.
Fried Frosty.
Fried Frosty.
You
ever been to a county fair? They can fry anything.
They can fry anything.
Yes.
I mean, you could have
fried butter.
You could have got a promotion.
I could have.
Fried Frosty though.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We were doing the Frosty floats before they actually came up with them. You know, where you put the like root beer float. We were doing that stuff like a decade before they came out with that.
Trendsetter.
Really?
Yeah. Good trademark.
I've been hearing about secret little, fast food menu items. Like I just heard another one on McDonald's, the putting an apple pie in a McFlurry. Have y'all heard of that?
Mm-mm.
Apple pie, they like break it up or whatever, and they just throw it in the McFlurry and get busy. You ever heard of that?
I saw you could get birthday
Mike.
cakes from McDonald's. I don't know if
You
that was a
can?
thing. I guess
like
that's what I saw.
like a legitimate cake.
Yeah, I saw like on Instagram or something. You can go through and ask for a birthday cake, and it's like a Ronald McDonald birthday cake that they have in their freezer. That's probably freezer burned and nasty.
Yeah, they're just
That sounds
waiting
pretty
for
gross.
that person to come and take it.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's probably a draft within that, J Mike. Do we have enough people or enough? Do y'all know your secret menu of fast food joints, or do you even just like joints in general? Not I know it's 420, not those type of joints. All right, y'all chill. Okay, we're getting medicated enough tonight. Just hold up. We'll talk about it later. We'll talk about it later. All right. So we've got the Pyrinator on tonight. All right. Not to be confused with the Baconator. All right. The Pyrinator, FF Pyrinator. So we'll get into that in a moment. But look, we're live on the open bar. What else would we do than to open up with how do you build? How do you not build? How do you require to build another Wendy's and burn down the original Wendy's? That's what we do here. We teach you how to do things. All right. It ain't just about the FF. Okay. If it is about FF, then at least one of them F stands for fire. That's for sure. We're live, man. It's Tuesday. It's 9:30 Eastern. Heavy on that. What, J Mike? That what, J Mike?
Heavy on that ish. Come on.
Feels good to be back. What's good?
Yo, every day is a good day to grow. I'm happy to be here with you. It is. I feel like there's so much to be said just from our opening salvo there with Kyle.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the sadder things is that when I think about Wendy's, I do think about two things. Now I'll continue to think about how the Baconator just means that much more to Kyle than anyone else. And I also think of the fact that shout out to Tim and shout out to the chat already keeping it lit. Tim Torch, Ohio, one of Ohio's finest. This, maybe I didn't know this before, but this really saddens me.
Oh, hold up.
So in the chat,
see that one.
The worst part was the leftover hamburger meat turning into chili because he too, Kyle, like you, used to work at Wendy's. Can you confirm that this is something that your Wendy's would also do?
That was true. We would take the stuff that was overcooked, then you throw it in the big pot in the back and boil it, and then you'd have to drain it and then chop it up and then dump it in chili. That was how you got the chili meat. Yeah.
Now tell us if there's a partnership with Wendy's and Skyline, please.
I have no idea about that. I bet you the local ones do. I bet you they do.
Oh man, this is the saddest day. Because Wendy's chili is one of those things. It's like, all right, I've eased up on fast food. Put the national brands to bed. I'm trying to buy local. I'm doing all this stuff. We're cooking at home. We're doing all these things. But the one thing that I felt like I could count on to do right by you, boy, was a nice Wendy's chili on occasion. Now you're telling me that it's the leftover hamburger meat, not the first cut, not the first choice, not the premium choice. I'm getting these leftover burnt, chopped up pieces mixed in with whatever other goodness or magic lab creation, and I've been filling my body with that, and I am appalled. I can't. I don't know if I can go on, Gabe. I don't know that I can go on.
And it gets worse there. So they would actually take that stuff and freeze it, so that it was like not even just the day of. It was like potentially a few days old, a week. I'm not sure how long you stored it for, but it wasn't the fresh stuff either.
So y'all would run it back? Come on.
Note to self.
I'm just ruining this entire
Wendy's chili.
Yes.
This is a good life lesson.
Oh man, that's
He
messed up.
went from fire to frozen real quick, bro.
All right, man. Shut it down. Shut it down. I'm
All
done
right.
here.
This has been the open bar. We're gonna do the opposite of the standard tonight, Ethan. You're gonna have the shortest episode and the longest episode on your book to write down on for your resume. And
I'm good with that.
yeah.
Brian Hart's going to roll up in the
J-Mike's
chat and
upset.
just never leave. So we're good.
Yeah, he might. Don't add him. What are you sad? Well, come on. What are you sad about though? Like you really didn't think that things like this happened for food?
Listen,
At organizations like this. Come on.
I'm probably naive about a lot of things, Gabe. This was just one of those things where you really, you just didn't want to envision. Hey, this
Of course not.
is how the sausage is made. I wasn't ready for that.
J Mike, you do know how hot dogs are made, right?
Listen,
Oh,
listen, I do, Ethan. And now you just take, you know what? What are we doing? What?
I mean, have you ever eaten a hot dog, J Mike?
This is unbelievable.
all right.
J Mike,
I
you
mean,
like a good hot dog, don't you?
No, I do.
But
Ethan,
listen.
listen.
I'm with J Mike. I'm a little shook about the Wendy's thing because, like he said, I feel like it was like you could count on Wendy's baked potato and chili if you needed something, and now it's like I'm never gonna have that again ever.
Thanks, Kyle. Now you've ruined chili.
Yeah, it's like Kyle took it away from us, but he also empowered us. Like at the same time, it's a
good way to look at it.
Cognitive dissonance.
I mean,
going
if
on
we're being
right
honest though, like chili is one of those foods that, like, if you make your own chili, you just assume that your chili is the best chili that's ever existed. Like every time, like if I have someone else's chili, I'm like, this chili's alright, but it's not as good as my chili. Like you're just in tune to whatever you do with chili. Like, and nobody makes it the same way either. Like your chili and my chili are two totally different things. Even though they got the same 5 ingredients, somehow they don't taste the same at all. So, I mean,
I entirely
I
agree. And I think that's in the same vein of I was just thinking about this actually with my wife and I. Spaghetti, one of a common meal here in the Gearing household. All right, gluten-free noodles only. Okay, get that wheat up out of here. But look, so the sauce, right? The gravy, dependent on where you're from. I don't know. Look, I don't know. Did people call it that? Oh, hippie mamba? Is that where? Okay. So
do people call it that?
What, gravy?
The sauce that you put on spaghetti, people call that gravy?
Yeah. No, I think that's like it's an Italian thing.
Is that real?
I think it's an Italian thing.
Can anyone confirm that besides Gabe?
No, it's sauce.
It's just sauce, right? Like I've been to Italy and they didn't show up with, oh, this is your marinara gravy.
Well, it's like a New York thing. Maybe it's a New York thing. Like New York peeps always try to be Italian, basically. So
You're
I think they call it
ruin spaghetti for me.
I think they call it gravy. I think they call it gravy. Look, hey, hold up.
You find one?
Yeah.
And listen, and
we got two.
James is the chef.
Oh wait. Oh, Dynasty Frank. Yeah, exactly. Come on.
Hey, everybody. Apparently, gravy's the thing. That's the thing. Apparently, good grief.
I didn't know that. I'll be honest. I didn't know that.
Wow.
If I could just like throw that out there smoothly, I'm working on the vernacular. All right. I'd love to just say like, yes, my gravy is this, but I don't think I'm quite there. All right. So I'm still calling it sauce. But I would love to transition into calling it gravy. I think that's way better than calling it sauce. Sauce is like kind of a moist word to me. Gravy is way more swaggy and whatnot. So FF Red Gravy, come at me. So anyway, the story is that I make spaghetti probably the most in the house, just because I think that my wife prefers my quote unquote this is a pause, prefers my gravy, pause, but more than her own. And yeah, Jim, well, I had to. I just, yeah, I don't know. It circulates, but anyway. So it feels more like there's more spice into it than when I've had her, because she makes, probably every fourth time she'll make the gravy, the sauce for our spaghetti, but hers always feels a little more like we're from Montana, and it honestly feels so like hard to the nose, like rough at on the taste buds, like there's just less spice into it. Like I'm just like throwing oregano and basil and parsley and my garlic, and I'll even put garlic powder on top of it and onion powder. Like I don't even care. Sprinkle a little sugar in there. Is that another thing? Y'all know the sugar takes the acidity away.
Pasta sauce has a lot of sugar in it if you look at it on the jar. A ton.
No, not that much. Just a little to take away some of the acidity. All right. So that's my vibe. All right. And when I taste mine, look, I'm just saying I prefer mine more than hers, but I know exactly what you're saying, Ethan, that once you hit that next, and this is in my own house, I know exactly what hers tastes like. I've had it a million times, but I've had mine a million times, but I can easily just tell the difference there. So gravy talk here on the open bar. Where else? Come on.
I have listen, I feel like I've traveled halfway around the world at this point with the with the tutorial that you just gave on gravy making. I feel like I'm half Italian now, half Irish, half Italian at this point. So I'm feeling good. This is good. This is a good start.
Yeah. And just wait, I haven't even introduced the guests yet.
Hey.
Imagine just being on the show for the first time. They're like, I've been on a few podcasts. Do these guys even are they even polite? Do they even introduce the people that are literally creating a show for them? Or do they just, sometimes we don't. Literally, sometimes the intro is the outro. So anyway, we'll start there. We'll start with blowing up. I feel like you already had your intro, Kyle, but I'm gonna give you another one because maybe you need to, put it out there that no, it didn't happen actually. So police, don't come after me. This is not my address. I do not live at this location. All that good stuff. So anyway, Kyle, first time on the show, the open bar. That is so good to have you. Welcome, Mafia. Stand up. What's good, brother?
I'm doing very good. Thanks for having me on. It's been fun so far. So I haven't wanted to click the Leaf Studio yet.
I see you hovering. Kyle. You need to chill.
Fingers just right over that, just in case.
Yeah, good to have you on, man. I teach right next door to a massive Bills fan, so I'm kind of engulfed into the Mafia over the last few years. J Mike and I are Jaguars fans, or J Mike or other Jaguars listeners out there might be a little upset that I just said that, but it's the Mafia, man. They're so fun. What a great fan club, right?
We do have our fun. We enjoy ourselves. Some of the stuff on Twitter is a little exaggerated, but I think the Mafia as a whole is a pretty good fan base, and we come by it honestly. When the team is that bad for so long, there has to be other ways to entertain yourself besides going to a football game to watch them lose. So that's how some of the other antics started, but still good people at the end of the day.
Have you broken a table is what I want to know.
No, I have not. I have seen enough of that, and I've seen the broken legs. I've seen other people doing dumb stuff, and there's a video going around.
Somebody that jumped and broke a table.
No, fortunately not. There was one guy who, I think it was, I went to school with a guy who his friend was doing the dizzy bat challenge and got so dizzy that he tried getting up and ran face first right into an RV. So I was watching the video, like, wait, I know those guys. That's not good. So you always hope that you don't know somebody that's doing that stuff there.
Dang. He's a PT, and the T is definitely for table, but P for what?
Party.
The party table?
Yeah.
Okay. The party
Well,
table.
I mean, partying at the tailgate. You know,
Yeah.
so,
Oh, the party tailgate. Okay.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
I like
I have
it.
to ask. Before you continue with the intros, Gabe, Kyle, I have to ask.
Oh, we have
So you
nowhere to
have-
go. Don't worry.
So you are a Buffalo Bills fan, and you've seen the Buffalo antics on the Twitter spheres and other probably social media platforms. So I have to
I
ask
witnessed
this.
this live in the tailgate lots. I mean, it happens.
Okay, and even live and in person and live in color. So let me ask: what would have to happen with the Bills organization for you to agree to be put through a table for the team?
I mean, I want to say win the Super Bowl, but like they would have to do less for me to even consider that. Like I think just getting back to the Super Bowl because they got so close, they got so far this year, and I have to go through a table. So I feel like in order for them to get to the Super Bowl, I'd say I'll jump through 10 tables if that meant getting the Super Bowl. I'll break my leg if it means winning the Super Bowl. So get me on top of the RV, man. If it means they get to, I'll hobble my ass down Niagara Square as they cheer on the Super Bowl championship. I will jump through 10 tables and break a leg if that means they're going to Super Bowl. I'm diehard like that. I don't want to. I'm just saying I will if it needs to be.
Would you eat a bowl of Wendy's chili for a Super Bowl?
No.
That's the question right there. That's the real question.
Yeah, I'm really thinking hard about that. I'll take a few extra tables there.
Okay, so Adam, you found the line. You found the line of delineation. He will go through tables. He will break extremities. He will not eat Wendy's chili. Okay, very good. That's good to know.
That's how I'm made. I don't need to eat it.
I have a quick question for Kyle.
Sure.
So Kyle, you're a PT. I'm a PT. Adam, he'll talk eventually. He's a PT. J Mike's here. Pelabun is obviously doing his thing. But I have a real PT question for you, Kyle. I'm assuming that you're working like around a bunch of other Bills fans too. How many patients have you had that have injured themselves via table jump?
Try to think. I want to say 0 because I work in home health, so most of my population is older. I have had people fall for stupid reasons, but nothing going through a table. Not unless it was incidental, like the table was nearby, but I don't recall I even purposely going through a table and them lean to where I'm having to treat them. So if it went to outpatient, that'd be a different story.
Well, that is a real shame.
I know.
Yes,
Why?
it is.
Well,
I know.
I'm surprised, honestly. Why wouldn't they? I just saw not but 2 days ago on the timeline the 70-year-olds doing drill rap and absolutely crushing it. By the way, why can't 70-year-olds drop through some tables?
They should be able to, but none that have.
Maybe they're efficient. They know what they're doing.
Yeah. That's very true. But yeah.
Stuff. All right. Another look. We're spending a lot of time on the intros here, but we have got nothing else to do. So Kyle, I have one more question, or 2 more questions.
All right.
Number 1, are you single?
No, I am happily married with 2 kids.
All right. I guess I don't really have to follow up here, but
he was definitely about to play matchmaker with you, Kyle. So.
All right.
I was, but no, I was going to mention. I did want to talk about to see if you knew what, because I'm going to pronounce it incorrectly here. DICA mellow DiCamellos. Is that DiCamellos? I don't know. Do you know what that is? Say it. Yeah. Did you know?
DiCamellos?
DiCamellos. Do you know what that is?
Not off the top of my head. The first thing I can think of is a restaurant, but
eat DiCamellos toast.
No, that's not ringing any bells for me.
No. Okay.
No.
Yeah. See, and that's why you're happily married with 2 kids. Moving on. All right. Next guest, the another newcomer to the show, another PT. Oh my gosh. How many things are we going to initialize tonight, man? The PT ain't for physical therapy. Is that what PT stands for? I don't even know. Is that okay? Yeah, cool.
That's correct.
Got it. Anyway, Adam, another newcomer to the show, to the open bar. welcome, my friend. How are you doing? What's good with you tonight?
I'm doing well. It's been a roller coaster of emotions. I learned about fast food ruining it, jumping through tables. I mean, it's been good. It's been a good party so far on a Tuesday.
Yeah, 25 minutes in, man. Buckle up.
Love it. I love it.
Yeah, no, it's good to have you on. Good to have Kyle on. Some PTs in the gang. All right, we getting medicated tonight. All right, what better way than on Dodge Day? All right, I believe is what we call it in the streets. That's 2 out of 3. We got one more, a return to the open bar, to what we believe was the standard last time. The standard is the standard. All right, if y'all don't know how to pod, let me take you back to April. What day did I say it was? April 15th. April 15th of 2020. Yeah, that was a year. But April 15th was a special day. That day, we took this pod not 1 hour, not 2 hours, not 3 hours. Well, we didn't take it 4, but we took it in between the 3 and the 4, about 3.5. All right, about 350. And we crushed it, man. And that was with Ethan. Some others, if he'd like to shout them out, he holds literally the standard, I think. So I feel like you have that option within you to shout those people out or not. Up to you. But anyway, Ethan, welcome to the show. Good to have you back, brother. What's good?
Oh, man, it's always a fun time on the open bar. Got my PT friends here, so I feel like I can just let them talk and I'll just get a listen for once, which is great for everybody, I'm sure. Yeah, the standard. Shout out to my boy Brian Harr for 5 minutes short of becoming the standard. Brian, if you listen to this, I will never forget that time you ditched us 3 hours and 35 minutes in, so that you could just never return. I tell you, you blamed it on your internet, but we all know that you're just being a big wuss. Yeah, it's exciting to be on here. D-Bro, if anyone out there is wondering why my face is so red, it's because I cover the sideline of a high school football team, and we were literally out in like 20-mile-an-hour wind last night, and it's like 20 degrees where I am right now. So my face is wind burnt from just standing there watching literally the worst high school football team I've ever seen. They haven't won in like 5 years. Bless their little souls. They're terrible. But
Shout out to
I get to
them.
stand on the sidelines, so it's a lot of fun. But my face is super burnt.
And you look lovely.
Thank you.
Might I add.
Thank you. I think if I drink enough beers, I'll just be able to play it off as I'm just like really happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Quite the transition. All right. Yeah, I like that. I like this right here. This is what I like to see. Meatloaf Wildcat, bring him back. Bring him back. All right. So, J Mike, this is a fantasy football podcast of sorts. Is there anything that you want to talk about that is fantasy football related, or even like, I don't know, medical related? Because we're getting medicated tonight. I don't know about you, dog. Oh man, I'm about to get therapized. All right, physically. Okay, I don't know if that's how you say it, but I'm not clowning y'all. Okay. By the way, I respect your game. I wish I could have the drive to do that, but I'm just a teacher. So, cut short. I don't know. J Mike, I don't know. Adam, what's up?
I was gonna say teachers got to grind too, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what grade you teach or anything like that, but that's got to take a lot of mental patience. I'm sure. My mother-in-law is a teacher, so I got nothing but respect.
The problem is that you don't do probably all of the work until you get into the actual occupation. It's a little bit reversed for at least some, from what I hear anyway. My wife's a nurse, so I just hear about like what the path is for certain positions. And I feel like school is a grind. And then when you get there, like, sure, it's still kind of tough, but it's certainly not as much as the school, maybe. I don't know. I feel like teaching is switched in that regard and not worth it.
But I don't know if I've ever shared this on the show, but back in and we will get to, and it looks like people have some actual questions in the chat that they love to be able to hear from you all. So this will be good. At least a couple. One's Kyle asking, which has all the makings of something to put your brain in a pretzel and for you to actually not have an answer. We'll find out. I don't know if I've ever said this on the show, but back in college, so I had the privilege of being able to play college football and love my experience, all the wonderful things. Now, we had a coach. He was an offensive line coach. I won't say his name just in case people try to look him up, and then I don't want to give him that kind of pub. Anyway, this coach would always come out during our two-a-days, and one thing that he would say to try to be able to inspire us, quote unquote, he would say, "Gentlemen, you could be at the best hospital in the world with tubes coming out of every hole in your body. You could be waited on by the best nurses and doctors that this world has to offer. Instead, you're here at football practice. You're able to bleed. You're able to run. You're able to sweat. Where else would you rather be?" Like literally, this is what he would say before practice as we're stretching. And so, being the knucklehead freshmen and sophomores at the time that we were, we thought it was a good idea to whisper amongst ourselves, "No, but for real, like, where else would we rather be?" And so we would throw out random places I had never even dreamed of or heard of or even seen on a map, like Bora Bora. I can't tell you where Bora Bora is, but I could probably tell you I'd rather be there than doing two-a-days. So anyway, shout out to that coach. Shout out to my college football experience, because that stuff is crazy. And I just remember him saying that all the time. Like, he makes it sound like being like being at practice like is the pinnacle. And it's like, okay, you try to put everything in perspective. And anyway, I'm taking this in a lot of directions, so I apologize. But point being, where else would you rather be besides being a PT? I need to know, if you were to dedicate your life to anything else in life, what would you like to do, or where would you like to be if you weren't living this PT life? Kyle unmuted. He's got these eyes like he's thinking. He looks focused. I think Kyle has an idea of what he'd rather do if he wasn't being a PT.
I feel like I'm between two different things. Either be writing or teaching, because my dad was a principal growing up, and I always had a knack for writing. That's kind of how I've gotten into more of the social media stuff with PT, just through writing, and try to use my degree in different ways. So that's probably where I would try to go to. I don't know whether I'd be successful at it, but maybe the teaching a little bit, but the writing, it's just some way to use my degree in a different way. But I don't know that I would be writing the way I do if I didn't have my background that I was. So that's a real thought-provoking question that I probably could think about more, but I'm going to stick with my answer.
Gabe, I feel like this is a moment where, like, you know how NBA players want to be rappers and rappers want to play professional sports? I feel like that's what just happened with Kyle. You just talked about, man, I think I would love to be able to be a PT. And then Kyle's like, well, actually, I think I'd like to teach. I feel like this is running parallel with professional sports. I think that you all are basically the mirror match to each other. This is a beautiful thing. I did not see this coming. Wow.
Is this Freaky Friday? Is this
Freaky Friday? Who's Lindsay Lohan? I'm curious.
Freaky Friday?
All right, Adam, what about you?
That music video is so funny.
Oh God, I wish I had a good answer. I don't know. I definitely, as I've gotten older over 3 years, I'm a nerd at heart. So I mean, I like analytics and things like that. I think I would get into something like coding or something like that, which I hated that stuff in college. It was the worst thing to me, but especially since I've gotten in this space, you can do a lot of cool stuff. I would definitely nerd out about that, but I'm not smart enough to even do that stuff.
Dang,
like...
J Mike, that's 2 for 2.
Bro, they all up in your lane, bro. They all up in your lane, bro. What T.O. used to say? They love to hate me. That's what it is.
They
That's
do.
what it is. Ethan, besides being a welcome to mama's boy, besides being the Scrabble champion, love maker connoisseur that you are, tell us, what would you rather do besides this PT life that you've grinded for, and we finally get to call you Dr. Ethan since the last time that we saw you?
Well, I was a doctor last time you saw me too, but
okay, the time before that.
You know, I'm sitting here listening to these great answers, and I'm thinking like I'd probably just make funny music videos. No, I'm just kidding, Gabe. I would never do that to you. Probably one of two. So, my parents own a catering business, so like I grew up like eating food. Obviously, I would love to own a restaurant and like run a restaurant. I feel like that'd be really fun. It would be barbecue, of course, and so. I feel like that would probably be one and I've told my brothers, like I have two little brothers that are still in high school. Shout out to Gaddy, who is the starting center for our high school football team. Gallon is going to be an NFL player, I'm sure. If only he wasn't 5'8", bless his little soul. I've told them that if they wanted to open a restaurant, like I would help fund it, because I really do believe that it could be really successful, but I just don't have the time, and doesn't pay like being a doctor does, I guess. The other one is I've always thought that I would love to do the grind of like trying to be a stand-up comedian. Not that I think I'm necessarily like that funny, but I have a lot of stories. Like I have a lot of stories that I would like to tell, and I like to make people laugh. And I feel like if I just wrote all those stories down, like I could probably do an hour of comedy every time. Like I feel like I would really like to try that, but this is not the world we live in. And so if I want to try to be funny, like I'm relegated to the open bar to try to be funny. I don't get to be up on stage and do that. But I have done some open mics, and they've gone quite well. And so like, I feel like if I really, really tried, like I'd probably be okay at it. I'd be poor.
Impressive.
So I don't think that would work very well, but at least I would like give it a shot.
Someone listens to the Joe Rogan podcast, grinding out being a comedian.
Yeah, like I don't know. I like it's the problem is that I'm way too practical to like try it. So I was like, well, I could be a poor comedian, or I could be like pretty well off and like live a pretty cush life. Like,
have you ever listened to like when his show when he has like those comedians on there like Bert Kreischer and Tom Segura and any of those guys?
You know, I honestly don't listen to the Joe Rogan show because
oh my gosh,
I'm sorry. Like Joe's cool, like the guests are cool. I did listen to the Fauci interview and like some of the like medical ones, but I listen to so many podcasts. I don't really like. He's just never made it into the rotation. I'll be honest. I did. So like, this is something that I tweeted about this, I think this morning, about how people just tend to think that they're funny and they're just not very funny. Like some people, it's like humor is not to me, it's a skill. Like you have to practice being funny. If you really want to get better at like telling jokes or making jokes or like just being funny in general, you have to study people that are actually like really good at it and are actually funny. So like when I was a kid, I remember like when I would take showers in the morning, like get ready, I would listen to stand-up comedians because I thought, man, if I can just pull like little bits of things that they do, I can use those things to like make jokes and like mannerisms that I do now. When I'm talking to people, I steal those directly from comedians. But if you don't listen to comedians, you don't know that I'm stealing like a lot of it's like the physical comedy, because obviously I'm making up the jokes. Like I'm not just like telling them stories that comedians told. Like that's kind of weird, but I'm not a plagiarizer here. But there's just certain people that are really, really funny. Like Jack Black's one of them. Like if you ever watch him, like a lot of times he's not even really making a funny joke, but his body language and the way he like moves his body are freaking hilarious. And I think that you can learn how to be funny by watching people like that. And so I don't know, like Gabe is like one of the funniest people that I know on Twitter. And I think that there's a reason for that. Like he probably has been around people that are really funny, or has watched other people that are pretty funny, or maybe he's just like supremely naturally talented. But I would guess that it's probably a little bit of both.
I think just alluding to what you were saying, I would tell you I did not listen to stand-up comedians in the shower. Dr. Ethan. No. I did listen to a lot of rappers in the shower though. And what, J Mike? Where you think this flow comes from, huh? FF Kohler in the building. Come on. All right, but so I didn't listen to stand-up comedians, but I will say, I mean, I listened to stand-up comedians. I've watched stand-up comedians. I've watched Jack Black. I watched all these guys, but and you listen to them in whatever way, shape, or form in the shower. That's a joke. Blah blah blah. But just that you borrow the brilliance, right? And I'm borrowing that brilliance from someone who told me about the book Borrowing Brilliance. I believe I first heard it from Matt Harmon, like a very long time ago in some podcast that I wasn't listening to in the shower, but just listening to. And he mentioned that book. It's a good book. Borrowing Brilliance. Basically, it's like I think everything is borrowed brilliance. Really, in the Twitter space, like if you think that anything that you're doing is original, like it probably like in some way, shape, or form is fractionally original. Shout out Pete Overzet. He's probably 1/5, creative on his bits and whatnot, playing, of course. All of it's good stuff, but I think a lot of it is certainly borrowed across the space. We take in an incredible amount of information and a lot of different characteristics and personalities and influences. So, like Ethan said, like you have no idea where that bit came from, where that voice inflection came from, whatever the case may be, and I don't know. That's my thing. We're all fucking phonies. We all just borrow.
Dang, that's how tell me how you really feel in it. Dang. All right. Well, glad you could end with that kind of exclamation point there, Gabe. Moving on. Yeah, shout out to KOB. Shout out to KOB. Kevin O'Brien. Yeah, he was he was a big proponent of that as well, borrowing brilliance. That's as deep as I wanted to go because I was curious where you all would take that, and that was way more fun than I thought it was going to go. So that's a big win.
Did you show that yet? I'm sorry, Pete.
Peter, well done.
Look, I'm gonna tell you right now that Pete Howard, not Pete Overzet, that dude's a clown. All right, Peter Howard. All right, probably one of the dudes that like gets apparently Ethan. Thanks for the tweet earlier. I wasn't expecting anything like that, but Peter and Ethan apparently are like on similar wavelengths of where I'm at, and I think Peter certainly interacts a lot more with where I'm at. So shout out to Pete. That is genuine. I'm not just saying it because you threw it in there, but I guess Pete's are funny. I don't know. Repeat, baby. All right. J Mike, what do you got to say, dude? Put some fantasy on. What is this? This show is so stupid. Let's talk about fantasy football already. We got 3 doctors on. All right. They go to school. They don't go to Bora Bora. All right. Let's not be Bora boring. Let's talk about fantasy football, fam.
So what's got you all captivated? I feel like I'm curious if the life of a PT is grabbing different information during the draft right now. Like if you all care about or are looking at or are focused on lots of things. I know good old Ethan, he dropped a really dope draft guide last year with a lot of injury analysis in it, which was really cool for me. Something that I was not ever on my radar previously. And then he put that together and it was incredible to be able to check out. So I'm curious with you all as we lead up to the draft, just over a week away. What's got you fascinated? What's got your attention? What's got your what's something that you that you are able to really sink your teeth into and really dig into at this time of the year? Or are you waiting for landing spots for you to actually care about what the heck is going on with people and their injuries, their bodies, things of that nature? Nobody wants that.
I can go first.
Three doctors on the show, J Mike. 3.
We're too polite. I mean, I think all of us do a really good job of just collecting data and trying to like break down some of these injuries from players in college. Ethan dives a little bit deeper even than I can, going into like high school histories and things like that, which is next level stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think all of us have seen at some point on Twitter posting something about some of our favorite prospects or talking about guys. Tylan Wallace was one that a lot of people were talking about with his twin brother having multiple ACL tears and things like that. So that's more where I'm at, is I'm just looking at these prospects and putting together a little bit of injury history. So it helps me in my draft. And honestly, like for the most part, I haven't found anything that was like earth shattering. I wish I had something really cool for you about like, this guy's going to miss the next X amount of games, next X amount of years. But it hasn't moved the needle for me too much, but it's definitely something that I've made a note of, and I jot it down. And when I find something interesting, I definitely tweet about it just to kind of keep people informed about what I'm looking at.
So I look at a lot of the same stuff too. I'm just looking at more just the injuries, find out what made some of these guys tick. Like some of these guys are still first round draft picks, projection at least, despite some of these injuries. I know some of the guys I've looked at: Caleb Farley, Landon Dickerson. I'm looking at Jalen Phillips right now. Some of those guys, like all the stuff they've dealt with, and they still want to come back and play such a physical sport. And people want to know how the injuries are going to impact their draft stats. Because, for example, today, Brandon Bean, the GM of the Bills, was saying, hey, some of the guys we've looked at for the medicals, some of the injury histories look a little sketchy. I don't know if we want to hit with those because they're drafted at 30. So I know the Bills fans are real big into understanding, how is this going to impact what players they like. I know there's a lot of guys that are big on Caleb Farley because we need his cornerback too. And so knowing that, and he has his back injuries and his ACL, people are going to say, well, should they take him? Should I not? So that's going to impact how the Bills operate. And then knowing that information is out there and I can provide that to them, that kind of helps make them a better educated fan base. So that stuff comes in handy later on if that person does get drafted and they continue to have issues later on. I know Ethan also dives into that later on. And yeah, nice thread the other day about some of the guys that had high injury risk, and it seems to translate over, talking about Bryce Love there. So I done an article on him last year about that, and you just start to see the pieces. It's like, okay, what I'm seeing here is accurate. It's not saying that this was a total bust because, one-off injury. We're seeing a pattern. So it's cool to dive into that stuff, see how they're performed before, and then how it impacts them in the future. And I'm not saying that's a one-to-one correlation, but you start to see where there's could be patterns where they're at higher risk, where there could be problems later on. And then I don't want to say more often than not, but it seems to trend toward that. If they had more injuries in college, they've translated to the pros where maybe they're not as successful. So it's fun diving into that and looking back saying, hey, I have the information so I can present it again if it pops up.
So, Ethan, where's your mind nowadays?
Yeah, I'm right in the thick of it again. I don't know. I keep getting myself into this habit of, this is the 4th year now that I've collected injury histories for large chunks of the NFL class. I think I'm up to like 60 something players right now for this year's class. Last year I did about 120. The year before that I got crazy and did like 200 something. I was like, that's way too much. I think I did like 50 running backs from that class, which is way too much. I'm not doing that anymore because now I have my work, so like I don't have the time to do that. But yeah, the biggest thing right now for me is just collecting the injury histories. I don't want to say that people were talking about the injury histories prior to me like doing all the data collection that I've done over the last 4 years. So I don't want to be like, oh, I invented this thing. No, I didn't do that. But what I did do was try to collect as much data as I could because I was just sick of not knowing. Like I was sick of like not realizing like you couldn't find it anywhere. And like that's really frustrating. I'm sure Adam and Kyle would agree that like you can't use the information if nobody's ever gotten it. When they get to the NFL, we've got a couple websites out there that like try to do their best to like keep up with it. but it's really hard. And so my goal was, okay, I don't personally, like maybe 10 years down the road, if enough people buy my guide, I'll be able to pay for people to like constantly update a website to the specifications that I want. But for right now, like my biggest goal is how can we use injury history data to predict the players that are not going to hit in the NFL? Like, how do we use that to maximize our draft positions in rookie drafts, and just overall career projections for players? So, what I found, and now I'm like, the problem is you collect the data, like for this year, you don't know if these guys are going to bust in a year or 5 years. Like, Andrew Luck was like a no-brainer pick, no injury history, but over the course of his NFL career, we started to notice like, hey, this guy keeps getting hurt, and then that risk changes over time. So my biggest goal was just like, okay, if we don't have the data, I can't use the data to use it predictively. And so I'm sure this was a similar problem that we had back in the day, which is any analytics for fantasy football or for football in general. Like, if you don't have the numbers, you can't run any statistical analysis to see if they mean anything. So that's what I've been trying to do over the last 4 years. And over the 4 years, my process has changed. At first, I was just kind of like looking at the histories and using what I knew about medicine to kind of predict like, all right, guy's had like 5 ankle sprains. He's probably going to have another one. Like, he's probably a little bit higher risk than somebody else. Now I've turned that into a formula that's it's not completely objective, but it's about 99% objective. I don't really have any input on what the numbers say. I put in the data. The data pops out a 0 to 10 number, and that's their injury risk rating is what I call it. And so it allows me to not predict injury, but predict injury risk. And I'm just now to the point where I can use the formula that I've made over the last 2 years and apply it back to the first 2 years of data that I collected and just see what happened. Like, did the guy that had, a really high injury risk rating from 2 years ago, did he never get hurt in the NFL? Like, not very predictive. Or did he, has he already had 5 injuries and now he's like, basically just dropped in value every year that he's played? I'm still learning. I mean, I'm still trying to crunch numbers on that. I'm really trying to take what forever in the NFL and fantasy space has been a very subjective approach. It's very much this is what the data says. Like, I know a little bit about this. Like, I'm going to kind of like give you an idea of what I think, and trying to turn that into very much a like analytical approach with numbers that matter and, figures that can change over time. And that is like not really something that very many people have been able to do because it's so complex. And I don't have a perfect answer. Like, I wish I had a perfect formula, but like, I'll never get that. What I will tell you is that like from last year to this year, like the data I collected last year and injury risk ratings are seemingly correlating pretty well. I had a whole thread on that, and it's correlating about to what I expected. Players that had a high injury risk missed on average over 2 games more last season than the players that I had a low injury risk rating. So, that right there is like usable, tangible evidence that like something is happening with these players. The question is how well can I fine tune that into like actual like, and can I show it over year? 5 years from now, can I say, hey, look, these guys that I had as a high injury risk, none of them hit, or only one of them hit out of 30. That is tangible data that you can use to then like make fantasy decisions. And I think the more people that we get into the space of like injury analysis, the better, because like I can't find everything. Kyle can't find everything. Adam can't find everything. So like if we're all working together, the 3 of us combined are probably going to be able to give you a pretty good idea of who you should avoid in a draft, which is super useful. I mean, it's unbelievable how useful that can be. I mean, it's the difference between like winning and losing sometimes. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just collecting injury history data and just like pulling my hair out. It's fine.
You got the homie Casey taking notes.
Yeah. J
These
Mike,
folks are listening to this.
the PT fam, they're coming for that film and analytics. I mean, they might lean on the analytics, I suppose, but they kind of got their own little injury based analytics that ain't about your breakout age. It ain't about your 40 time. Ain't nothing about that. All right. Tell me how many ankle sprains you had. All right. Come on.
Take a seat, Pete.
We're a nerdy bunch that has a group chat. We meet on Sundays. We get our Wendy's chili. We sit around in a circle, and these are the things we talk about. We talk about high ankle sprains and ACL tears. We nerd out.
Well, wait, hold on. Is there? Because I guess I've kind of seen that a little bit, mostly on just like Sundays when a player gets injured, and they're like, you see the whatever underscore PT not pop in and say, oh, that looks like a so-and-so. And a lot of times they're correct. Probably 80% of the time it's at least that, or maybe there was something else to it. Is there like a quote unquote film game to the, medical stratosphere? Or I know, Ethan, you're hitting a lot of the analytic stuff, but is there anything that, like, if you were to watch film, like, for example, I've seen, I don't remember who said it, but I remember someone watching tape on Jerry Jeudy last year, and they looked at his,
we all know what you're thinking, Adam.
Get in there, Adam. Tell him about it.
They looked at his knees when he was hitting his brakes, and it looked like he was going to break between his two limbs and not have knees anymore. And he was going to start looking like a socket wrench the way he's popping between his legs. So I don't know. That socket wrench. I don't know. But so is there anything to that? Is there any like film analysis as far as injuries could go, or projecting injuries? And tell me about the Jerry Jeudy thing, Adam. You can start there if you want. I want to know what the God is, because I don't know.
I didn't want to get on my soapbox on a Tuesday. No, I mean, I think there's something to that a little bit. I looked at it. I went down a deep rabbit hole looking at this, and I can send you something, Gabe, after this if you want to nerd out. Looking at knee valgus angles is what you're referring to. Looking at knee valgus angles and wide receivers that tore their ACL and didn't tear their ACL, and I tried to like objectively measure them. And then I had somebody that's a lot smarter than me kind of crunch the numbers and say, hey, was there any association between the guys that did tear their ACLs, that they had these higher knee valgus angles, versus guys that didn't tear their ACLs that were kind of in the same demographic as those players? And he actually found like a decent correlation when I was looking back at it, but it wasn't something enough where like my sample wasn't very big. Like I looked at a lot of film of these guys. I looked at them when they were running, jumping, cutting, and took measurements. And the correlation was decent. I think it was around like 0.3, but it wasn't something that I felt good enough about like stamping a flag in there and being like, haha, there's an association here, because it was a small sample. I think and the reason I did that was because of the Jerry Jeudy argument. Like, I think sometimes we try to put these guys in boxes of like, oh, this is what I learned in school, and this is what I see when I treat most of my clientele at work as a physical therapist. I'm going to apply that to an elite level athlete. And I think you missed the mark. Like these guys are gifted people. They're going to have different knee angles and hip angles than you or I. It's what makes them elite. It's why they can compete in the NFL. Michael Jordan did similar things to that, and I think he had a pretty good career. I don't know. He won a couple of championships, but like, I mean, he did okay. Like I know some people that work with some various NBA basketball teams, and the data that they take, like looking at players ankle range of motion and things like that, they have a totally separate database for their population than they do for average people. Because like, yeah, Russell Westbrook probably has like the tightest calves in the world, but that's how he explodes and dunks and makes amazing plays. Like they're just different people. So I think it's hard to say, but I've looked at some stuff and I don't feel like there's enough of an association. It was like I said, it was the reason I started the whole thing. It was the Jerry Jeudy debate, because I don't think we can talk about Jerry Jeudy like we could talk about, you or me when looking at his knees.
Well, Jeudy knees. I guess that's a thing. I'm gonna have to keep my eyes open for the old trick Jeudy knee. No, I'm just kidding. Clowning. Ethan, what were you about to say?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely recommend that you go look at that article that Adam wrote about that, because it is super interesting. Even if you're not like, I mean, obviously it's interesting to like me and Kyle because we're nerds about that kind of stuff too. But I mean, I thought Adam did a really good job of breaking down like why that's not. We can't 100% say it, but there might be a correlation. I mean, I think Adam brought up a great point about, and I say this often, like every PT can talk about or should be able to talk about like NFL injuries, like that video analysis that you're talking about, J. Mike. I would say a good portion of PTs are trained on how to look at an injury or look at an injury happen on video and say like, all right, it could be this, it could be this, it could be this. Like most MDs can do that. Most PTs should be able to do that. Like it's just kind of how we're trained. Like we are trained on how things happen. Like that's just kind of part of the curriculum. But I thought Adam did I think what Adam's getting at is that just because we learned about that in school doesn't mean that we understand 100% how an NFL athlete responds to that versus like a normal person. Like I don't treat any NFL athletes. I've never done it. Might never get a chance to. Like maybe down the road, you never know. But most of the time, the people that I'm dealing with, when they have an ACL tear, it's not like when an NFL athlete has an ACL tear. When they have a calf strain, the stress that they're trying to come back from is not the same as what, an NFL athlete has to return to. And so that's why with like major injuries like an ACL, a patient that I have that tears their ACL, they might be back to sports in like 6-7 months and no issues. I mean, could be fully functioning at 6 to 8 months. With an NFL athlete, why is it 9 to 12 then? Like, because the stress that they're put under is very, very different. And so if you can't, if you're as a PT only looking at studies that are related to like normal humans, like it doesn't apply. They're completely different animals. We're talking about the 1% of the 1%. And so, yeah, from a video analysis perspective, like it's not that it's easy to do. I'm just saying that most PTs should be able to do it. Like if they're good at being a PT, like you should be able to look at any injury and be like, all right, that stressed this tissue and this tissue. They're most likely things that are wrong. And to me, that's not really what I focus on personally. Like we collectively, like luckily Kyle and Adam and I talk often because we're cool with each other. And like, we will talk about injuries. Like, hey man, what did you see here? Like, I'm kind of thinking it's this, like, what do you guys think? And we'll have those conversations in private because to me, I mean, I guess the biggest goal is to, be in somewhat of a consensus and not just throw something out there like, oh, it's an MCL. And it's like, well, actually, like everyone else that looked at this video said it's an ACL. So maybe you should relook at it and look at it this way. There are plenty of PTs out there that think that like we just do really easy stuff, but there is a lot of collaboration behind the scenes and there is a lot of just knowledge that just is ingrained in all of us. So I don't focus as much on the injury analysis, video analysis, because one, I don't have the time to watch all 16 games every Sunday. And two, we usually find out within 24 hours before we ever have to make a fantasy decision about it, like exactly what it is. So like, is it really giving you like a huge advantage competitively if you find out 24 hours later that the guy tore his ACL when like I told you earlier that he tore his ACL? It's like, okay, well, we have a week to know. So we're going to know. Everyone's going to know exactly what it is. So like, why would I guess? on the fly. Like that doesn't provide any like substantial fantasy football value, but maybe somebody will disagree with me. Kyle, what do you think about all this?
I focus a lot more on Bill stuff. That's how I got into it. And then it's kind of expanded out into betting and other things like that. So I'll tell you, Bill's Mafia wants to know what the fourth string cornerback, if they had an injury, they want to know what's going on. If somebody bigger starting lineup had an injury, Matt Milano, when he tore his pectoral muscle, like they want to know about that stuff. It's crazy the amount of information people want to consume, even if they're not fantasy relevant, especially like individual players. Like if somebody goes on defense, how's that really going to affect the defense from a fantasy standpoint? Some guys like a JJ Watt might affect it more than, a safety or whatever. But, if you're looking at individual players in fantasy or just a fan of that team, they want to know how the loss of that particular guy is going to be impacted. So like if you see something on film say, hey, it could be this, and then you get more information, okay, it confirmed as that, or it's not that, then it kind of helps guide your decision-making process. I know one fantasy relevant guy this past year, John Brown, he had suffered a high ankle sprain in the Arizona game where they won on that crazy DeAndre Hopkins catch. Mm-hmm. I thought he suffered a medial ankle sprain. I saw stuff on Instagram later said, okay, he's doing okay with it. And turns out, high ankle sprain. They kept him out for a while. Well, medial ankle sprain, I'm looking at maybe 2 or 3 weeks. He can come back even sooner. High ankle, you're looking at closer to 4 or 6 weeks. And it depends on the severity too. But like having the information might dictate what you do in the interim with fantasy, but also might just dictate the narrative of how things are going to be going on in the coming weeks for not necessarily fandom, but you might just get ahead of it. But like Ethan said, we're going to know within 24 hours. But I know in case of John Brown, they waited a little bit longer. So sometimes that information can be beneficial if the team is tight-lipped, such as the Bills are and some other teams. But I guess it just depends on what you're looking for is how valuable it is to you.
Yeah, and Kyle and Ethan and I have all talked about this. Like, we're in this weird space of like fantasy football where sometimes we're like the Debbie Downers of like injuries, and it's like it's not always fun. Like it's interesting to us because like we do this all the time, and it kind of is intuitive to us as well. But it's like I like working with these guys and talking with these guys because I think everyone's really, really careful about like what they put out there. Because I mean, at the end of the day, this is how these guys make their livelihood, right? They're professional athletes. This is how they earn their money. Like, I don't want to condemn a guy, based on an injury or how he moves. So I think there's definitely a subjective nature to it, but we try to also be like super objective about, and that's why I like some of the stuff that like Ethan's gathering on data and like why I went down that rabbit hole of like looking at knee angles. Cause I feel like if you're going to put a guy in a box like that, yeah, your subjective nature is how you got there, but you better have some objective, like tangible evidence to support what you're talking about, because it's a really slippery road, especially when you're talking about injuries and movement patterns.
No question.
I agree with that. I mean, if you don't have something to back it up, you're going to look like a fool out there if you're wrong. I mean, there's been too many times where I've been wrong, but I've been able to show my work, say this is how I got to my answer. And people are kind of like, okay, you at least had educated reason behind your answer. You're not just saying that. And I've seen other people where they just throw things out there and then they're not taken seriously. What I do sports betting, writing on the side too. And Lonzo Ball, no, it's not Lonzo, LaMelo Ball, he broke his wrist. And I was like, they're talking about season-ending stuff. So I talked about what it could be. Then he's supposed to come back in a week or two. And I'm like, how did I miss this? But then I looked back and saw my objective stuff, saw what the information was at the time. So I'm like, okay, I made the best decision possible and talked about that. And of course the situation changes because I'm not the one evaluating the person, but if you show your work, people are going to be more accepting of that and saying, okay, you at least came to a reasonable conclusion. You weren't just throwing things at the wall and hoping that you're right, which I think garners you more respect.
And I know there have been instances, or had to have been instances, I'm sure, and you don't have to confirm this. I don't want to put you guys in a compromised position. So you can blink twice, you can nod, you can look to the left, whatever you got to do. But I'm sure that there have been instances where someone's posted something on Twitter and you got done reading the tweet or you got done reading the thread and you're just like, what? Yeah, just like the the eyes coming out of their head.
No,
like
that's
just
so
some
I don't
wild
blink.
stuff.
That's so I don't blink.
Yeah, I'm sure there are plenty of instances where those things have happened. But that's golly, that was so much good information. Go ahead. Sorry.
I mean, we're all going to be wrong at some point. Like, there's nothing wrong with that.
Debatable.
It's like,
No.
Yeah,
Well,
no. And that's
to
fair.
to a certain extent. Like, we're gonna miss stuff. But like Kyle said, it's like what'd you learn in grade school with math? Like, show your work, show how you got there,
exactly.
and then that's all you can do. Like, I've missed stuff. I missed stuff last year, but talking to these guys, I got better and refined my process. And we like they said, it's a collaborative effort sometimes on things, and it's just trying to be more well informed for the community so we can make better decisions.
No, and I'm not even referring to like you all necessarily missing. I mean specifically to what Kyle was talking about, when someone just throws something out,
yeah,
and you're like, wait, what are you talking about? That's different right there. I'm sure, but anyway, we can leave that alone. I'm sorry, Ethan. Looks like you have one.
I wasn't going to leave it alone.
I know you would.
I ain't scared of nobody. I definitely think that there are times, especially when you're dealing with people that don't maybe understand as much about the statistical portion of it. This year I got into, I started working for the Fantasy Headliners, and that's all on YouTube. And it's a much, much larger audience than I've ever had. I mean, I have like 4,000 Twitter followers, and we have 110,000 subscribers. And so every week I would say things, and I would have just like hundreds of comments like questioning that. And I think that there are times where people that maybe don't, it's hard to explain everything. Like, I went to school for a really long time to know some of this stuff. It's just like intuitive to me, but it's hard to explain to other people. Like, no, the reason why this guy is probably not going to play for a few weeks is because he has a high ankle sprain, and you're referring to a low ankle sprain. And those are two different injuries. And like, some people just see ankle sprain and they think 2 weeks. It's the same thing with like ACL tears. A clean ACL tear, you're looking at like 9 months, and they're probably going to be pretty productive. If they have like a Joe Burrow type injury where it's an ACL and meniscus and an MCL and partial PCL, those types, that stuff matters. And so, I've told this story many times, but the whole reason I started talking about injuries in the fantasy football space is I was listening to a podcast that is very, very, very well known. And one of the hosts, who is not a medical guy, so I'm not going to like bash him about it, but they were talking about Allen Robinson, and they said, oh, ACL tears, 6 months, he'll be ready to go. And I said, well, yeah, a normal person is 6 months, but like, this is not a normal human being. This is like a professional football player. His stress that he has to like build up to is not the same as like, the guy who tore his ACL while he was golfing on Saturday. Like, you trying
to tell me that my ACL when I'm climbing the steps at work is not the same as Allen Robinson's ACL when he's trying to shake the stress that big play sleigh? Unbelievable.
Your prior level of function, which is a good PT term that Kyle and Adam probably love, where you were at before is not NFL level, J. Mike. Sorry.
Unbelievable.
Like, I love you, bro. Like, I know you played college football, but like, not NFL athlete. And so that's the reason I got into talking about this stuff, was because I heard someone who has a lot of clout in the fantasy realm say something that I was like, nah, dude, that is not right. Like, what you're saying is misleading and misinformed. It's not that you're an idiot, but like, you can't say stuff like that. Like, when you have that much clout, you're telling people the wrong thing. And so like, when I started, there weren't really that many PTs or just medical people in general that were specific to fantasy football. It was all just like general, like, I'm a doctor or I'm a PT, and I just talk about the injury, and I let you figure out the fantasy side of it. And so now I'm like so grateful that I have peers in this group. Like, the number of PTs really seem to be like kind of like trying to corner this market of like fantasy football. I don't know why we tend to do that. I mean, we are I think we're just very well trained, I guess. I don't know. It's stuff we deal with all the time, and we love sports usually. But the number of people is growing every year. I mean, every year I see or hear about someone that I'm like, dude, I've never even heard of this guy, but he just wrote this incredible piece on something like what Adam said, like his ACL piece. I mean, I remember reading that and being like, holy crap, this is like a really cool way to look at this. I would have never done this work by myself. I'm so glad that he did it, because now I can use it and reference it and refer to it when I'm doing my own analysis. And like, that is, to me, there's not very many parts of fantasy football that are still kind of like unexplored frontier.
Yeah.
We've kind of got the analytics side like pretty well cornerstoned. We kind of have the rah-rah football film guy. Like that's always been cornerstone. That's been football for like the entire existence of football. Now it's people want more. Like what Kyle said about like Bills fans, they want to know about that guy that's the fourth stringer and like what happened with him, and what like the football fan is so much more in tuned with the injury side of it and what it means for their team's success and what it means for like their fantasy football team success or their DFS success, that it's only going to keep growing. And so I'm glad that more people are coming into the space to like, because the more people we have doing it, the better we're going to get at it collectively. And so it really is cool, I think. Maybe Kyle has probably a different opinion, because he is very much in a very specific sector, and Bills fans are crazy in a good way. But it's so interesting to me just to see all the people coming up in to this space that, when I started, there weren't a ton of people doing it. Now I can't even like name them all. There's like every day someone's adding me. I just had another guy today, an MD, that added me on, and he's like, hey man, just wanted to know like what you do. Like, tell me about this stuff that you're doing. I want to talk about injuries too. And I'm like, that's awesome. Like, that's so cool to me. There's some PTs and people, I won't say PTs, I should just say people in general, that kind of like don't want that to be the case. Like you don't want all these new people coming in, but like, I'm totally the opposite. Like, the more people that can look at this stuff, the better.
Yeah. And it feels like, it feels like the stakes aren't getting any lower, right? With all of the with all of the money in sports betting, like you were talking with Kyle, and like the stakes aren't getting any lower. More and more people are flocking to fantasy football. They're flocking to DFS, and even in a smaller subset, they're flocking to dynasty. So this stuff matters. So that's I feel. And Ethan, it's funny because we've had you on multiple times and you've been able to dig into multiple bags in terms of things that you're passionate about. I don't know that you've ever waxed as poetic on here in terms of something that was passionate. So it's really cool to see each of you really dig in and dive in and be like give your perspectives on this, because I think that does matter. And it's cool to be able to see you all be able to articulate that in a way that's not over the heads of the common folk. People who are taking this game on. So man, that perspective was pretty cool. I appreciate you guys being able to jump in there. I know we're running short on time, so I want to be able to do a few things real quick. So I think that we'll do one word answers, because I have a few questions related to the draft, and then we'll draft outros and kick rocks. So one word answers. The rule of the game is you give a one word answer. That's really it. I might limit it to a certain phrase if we're talking about someone's name, but one word answers is really easy. So with that said, earlier, shout out to the homie chef, James, in the chat. He asked, hey, I love the injury report on Waddle. Oh, nice.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's perfect.
Okay.
Leave it.
I did the wrong one. I meant to do this one. I'm sorry. I meant to do. Sorry, I didn't mean to take over.
No, it's good.
One. That one
again. Just all the things. Bring me all the things. All right, one word answers. Here we go.
Waddle.
Are you concerned about? Are you concerned about Jalen Waddle going into his rookie season? Ethan?
No.
Kyle?
No.
Adam?
Nope.
Gabe?
I was wondering if you were going to ask the. I didn't even know what to call myself. I felt wrong calling myself a PT, so I couldn't do it.
The wannabe T?
The MB. The MB. That's probably a thing, right?
DRMB, yes.
I mean, I just listened to 3 doctors say no, so no. It's like,
Do you want to go there?
yes, as a matter of fact.
Stick it to these
I
know-it-alls.
watched his last game and he limped off the field.
That's what his draft stock looks like. It's limping into Thursday. Okay, next question.
But wait, is Jalen Waddle is he getting drafted ahead of Devontae Smith?
He might.
That's what I saw. That's what I saw on the TL. That's what MB saw on the TL.
Bro, I feel like everybody's throwing so much out right now.
I know.
It's a lot going on.
They're just throwing, yeah. All right.
Next question. The rookie in this class that has you concerned. You can say 2 names, first and last name. The rookie in this class that has you concerned. It can be injury wise, it can be not. It's up to you. Kyle.
I think it has to be injury wise, doesn't it?
Sure. You could, yes. Gabe says it has to be injury wise. You guys make it
one
work.
one injury, one other.
And this isn't stomach illness from last night's Wendy's chili, Kyle. Figure it out.
That's what Edwin's dealing with. Injury wise and not injury wise. Injury wise, I'm going Landon Dickerson with all his injury history. And then non-injury wise, I'm thinking Justin Fields. That's my first. That's
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Ohio State quarterbacks.
Adam.
Injury wise, I've only really looked at these guys from an injury and led, so I'm going to give 2 that I'm a little bit worried about. And okay, I'll take one. I'll let Ethan get one.
No,
and
use them both because I want to see if the one that I wanted to, because I got like 20 names I could give you. So
okay.
You just do them both, and I'll see if
these are 2 that have stuck out to me are Tylan Wallace and Brevin Jordan. Those are 2 that have me a little concerned.
Gabe.
I can't play the injury game, so not as well as them anyway. I feel like it's just I didn't want to say Tylan Wallace because I love Tylan Wallace, but there's certainly a little bit there for me. Trey Lance.
Ethan.
I will say shout out to my boy Adam. Tylan Wallace does have the highest injury risk rating of the checks notes 21 wide receivers that I looked up this year. So that is definitely a concern.
I'm in your house right now, and I looked at your notes. That's the only reason.
I figured you did. Well, I mean, it's again, some of it is common sense. Like you see a guy that's had his history, and you know what his family history is, and you go, that's a concern. Brevin Jordan also has the highest injury risk rating for tight ends in this class, but I've only done 5 so far. So like, you're right on board. I'm also concerned. They're both moderate risks in per the formula. Tylan is a little close to that high risk.
I promise we did not talk about that before the show. We did not.
Look at this clown.
Kluge.
You just got Kluge, fellas.
Yeah.
We did not talk about that before, but I think we've mentioned before that we've had discussions before this. So I don't think we're giving anyone like any groundbreaking news on that. I will add injury concern. I'm going to go with Trey Sermon. There's some stuff I found in his history that definitely concerns me quite a bit. Guy I'm concerned that's not injury related is Kadarius Toney, and that's all I'm going to leave it at.
I feel like we just became
also on my list.
I think we just became better friends from the show. I got like a thread that I'm dropping tomorrow on Trey Sermon, and I found some stuff that was like.
Adam,
this is bothering me a little bit.
Free.
Dude, we're on the same level. Like honestly, that might like the fact that you said those names almost like reaffirms like what I'm working on I don't know. That's wild, man. I honestly, we did not plan this, and the fact that he said those names is like definitely
It's
got
good
me in
that
my
we're
head
vibing
now.
though. That means I'm on the right
We're
track.
vibing.
Like
We're vibing.
Trey
right
Sermon
now.
does have the highest injury risk rating of the running backs that I've done.
Oh my god! I want to put that on my Twitter thread now.
In this class, and he is that's out of 16 running backs. So if you look back at 2020, his injury risk rating would have put him, sorry, just so we know the info for comparison. If we're looking at just running backs, his injury risk rating would have also put him at the highest from last year as well. So I imagine that what you're about to drop in your thread is the same thing that I found when I was looking it up. And you know, it dates back to high school. Let's put it that way. His injury history dates back to high school.
Listen,
and those
man,
are always a concern.
I don't want to be. I don't want this to be something to where this comes back on the open bar with you all breaking HIPAA laws and things of that nature.
No. Easy there, J Mike. I have strict rules for my injury guide. It has to be public knowledge. Nothing I put in the guide is like behind the scenes. We've had conversations. This group has had conversations with people that have given us information behind the scenes. I am not stuff in this guide. I have a source for every single injury. It's public knowledge. You can find anything that I find, anything that Adam finds, anything that Kyle finds. It's public information. The question is how hard you want to look. And I guarantee you, most people outside of maybe a few that I know are willing to go as deep as what we are. And so I'm sure that Adam found the injury that I'm talking about, and I'm sure that
I actually
posts about it.
I didn't. You go high school level, and
you find anything from
the hell out of that.
Trey Sermon?
Say that again.
Oh man, that's a big one.
Wait. What was the high school? What was the high school one? I didn't hear you.
So he actually broke his L5 vertebrae in his back as a junior in high school. That's on top of all the stuff that he had in college. So I'm always
looking
looking
at college too with his back or his neck.
I didn't see it. Let me look here.
That is interesting.
I remember hearing about the back stuff too, but I can't remember if it was high school or college.
It was high school, and I don't know if that ever bothered him. So I have different rules than probably some people do as far as like what I put in and don't put in. He may have had issues with it, but if it didn't cause him to miss any practice or game times, it doesn't go in the guide. So it's possible that he has dealt with either back spasms or something related to his back before. I mean, I've got 5 recorded injuries for him dating back to 2015. So
I don't have that many. That's impressive that, like I said, that you go back into high school, and I'm definitely after
it's a crazy deep dive. I'll send you the source that I found on that because it is kind of obscure. Not obscure that it's like not legit. It's just obscure. Like, if you weren't like really looking deep, you probably wouldn't have found it.
Honestly, you just stumble upon that stuff though too. Like you're looking through things, you're like, oh, this has popped up, and you start digging more, and you just find it.
Yeah, I will tell you guys the farthest back I've ever had an injury that got recorded in the guide was Antonio Gandy Golden dislocated his hip in 8th grade, and I found that from like an old like newspaper clipping from like I don't even know when, from his high school like newspaper in his small ass town. He dislocated his hip, and they were talking about like I think they were interviewing him when he got recruited or something, and he was talking about this time that he dislocated his hip when he was in 8th grade and how that like affected him in high school. Which is kind of important to know. Like if he has hip issues down the road, like there could be definitely that could all play back to that. So that's the latest I've found. I think this year, man, I don't even know. Quite a few from high school, but nothing crazy. Besides that one for Trey Sermon.
There's a Jalen Phillips concussion when he was 10. That was probably one of the
I did see that, and I didn't put it in the guide. I put it in the guide that he had that it's reported that he's had concussion issues since he was 10, but I couldn't find any other sources to like correlate that to, and so I'm always like, did he tell him that? Like, how did they find that info? Like, did he miss time with that? Did he hit his head? Like, the one thing is when you're covering junior high and high school football, like the number of concussions that I diagnose every year for those, like that group of people, is so high. Like that's why nobody in the risk on the risk rating scale starts at 0. Like nobody has a 0% injury risk. Like it's baked in that they have some risk because they play football, and that's like what I count those like high school issues that you'll never hear about because it was like we took him out for a week and then we let him play again. Like, yeah, technically that counts towards his history, but like there's no way to know for sure. Justin Fields had something that he missed he missed all but I think he missed all but like 4 or 5 games when he was a sophomore. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I found from high school.
You need to leave. You need to leave AGG alone, bro. Dislocated hip in 8th grade. Come on.
No one's safe in here. He needed to shred that newspaper. He needed to shred that newspaper.
Ain't no one's safe.
Ethan went looking for it. I will say I found some decent stuff too on guys' Instagrams. Yeah. I creep on some dudes' Instagram sometimes.
I find a lot of like which side it was, which nobody reports, but which they did. Instagram, there's like a lot of like social media is actually really helping us now.
Oh yeah,
because you know we're seeing things behind the scenes that you would never see. Who was it?
And
like AJ Brown.
Yeah, like
that recorded himself like 2 minutes after he had double knee surgery this offseason. Like you would never know. Like nobody's reporting that.
Yeah,
you know, if he doesn't do that video, we might not even know that he had surgery. Like, just unbelievable some of the stuff I've found.
Yeah, and we definitely shouldn't see that stuff. Like, if I'm those guys' agents and or like the team, I'm like, what? Stop doing that. Like, this is hurting us because like some of the stuff I find on there, I'm like, I would have like paid to see like you run at this angle or like look at this stuff. Like I can't believe you're just giving me like access to it right now. It's very interesting.
And I
said surgery. I said I built 2 nurseries. We're having twins.
AJB love the kids. AJB.
I have run into some stuff where like it's quoted in an article, and then I go to find like the source from the article, and it's like a deleted tweet. And so I do think that there is some of that where people are starting to catch on. Like maybe we shouldn't post about the time you like had off-season surgery. Like maybe we should just keep that under wraps and nobody can know about it. And so again, it's not an exact science. It never will be because there is such a competitive advantage to keeping things quiet. That's why the Patriots do it, right? Mm-hmm. The Bills are apparently along that vein. Sorry, Kyle.
That's very much so. Nothing gets out of there unless it's, either by accident. Jerry Hughes had that last year. He said something by accident on Instagram and it caused literally an NFL investigation. But otherwise, nothing's getting out unless they say it's okay to get out.
Unless Kyle finds it.
I tried to.
There we go. What a nightmare. You thought you could put this past me, McDermott?
You know where I worked? I worked at Wendy's. All right,
sir. This is a Wendy's.
Keep calling back there.
Wendy's.
What a night, man! This has been too good. I am here for you all nerding out. This has been so informative, and it's got me like, okay, maybe I need a career change. I don't think it's too late for me. I think that I could get into this bag. This is fun. No, but in all seriousness, thank you guys. This has been an absurd amount of fun, an absurd amount of information, and the respect and the admiration I already have for Ethan. I've known him now for several years, and here in this podcast in life. But Kyle and Adam, to be able to get your all's perspectives and to listen to your all stories and processes and what you go about on a day-to-day or week-to-week basis, it's been eye-opening for me, so appreciate you guys. Gabe, do you want to outro us here?
Yeah, dog. Let's get it. All right. Okay. So one word answers is done. Let's take that off our little ticker board here. Look, between all of the talk on things that happened between what was the word? My favorite word of the night was from Adam on your research on Jerry Jeudy. What was the word that you used about his knees?
Valgus.
Valgus.
VALGUS. Sorry, I had to think about that. I'm
That turned
embarrassed.
me.
I'm
that turned-
embarrassed amongst my
Hey.
colleagues.
No, just say it again, Adam. That turned me on. Anyway,
Yes.
I don't know. It sounds mathematical. Is it at all? Is that medical? I don't know what valgus is. You didn't even tell us. You just threw it out there like we were supposed to know. I mean, they knew,
Yeah.
but we didn't.
It's like it's the inward bending of your knee. It gets used
Okay.
like a little bit too much. That's why I kind of like eye roll every time now someone asks me about it. It's nothing that like I forget that people don't know what that commonly means, but like
Yeah.
I feel like we hear it so much sometimes we're like, oh my God, this again. Yes. Yeah.
Do you
Think
feel
about
like-
it this way, Gabe. This is how I learned it
Okay.
in school.
All right.
It's varus and valgus. Valgus is
Varus,
like
I've heard.
if you used gum to stick your knees together. That's
Okay.
valgus. Gum.
Valgus. Valgum.
Gus,
Got
gum.
you.
That's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
if your knees bend in towards each other and like touch.
yeah. Okay.
That's valgus. Gum. Like
Okay.
gum is sticking together.
Gotcha.
Varus is just the opposite of that. So that's like bow-legged is varus.
Is
Or
there a-
if you're walking with bow legs, you look like you've had a lot of rum. So varus, verum. And that's how I memorized it in school. I swear to God. That's like,
All
I
right.
still use that. I'm like, valgus, gum.
Yeah.
Together.
Stalagmites, stalactites. I don't
That's
know.
right.
Yeah.
Same
I don't
concept.
So
remember.
now you'll always know.
Yeah. Okay. I'm with it. I'm gonna throw. So I was gonna say, my wife, nurse, she's been into Grey's Anatomy for a long time. Like maybe a cliche. I don't really know, but very into it. But she does like, especially being in the nursing game now. She kind of like scoffs at it, and she especially scoffs at the names that are used, like certain like procedures or whatever. And I feel like valgus sounds like a term that would be used on the show where she would be like, no one says or something like, I don't know. Yeah. So, oh my gosh, is there a fire? Kyle, are you at a Wendy's?
Full circle here. Full circle.
Always. All right. Anyway, we're going to do some outros, but we're going to do a quick draft as well. We'll come up with it. J Mike, I don't know if we've actually done this before, because when I was scrolling through and I saw our old show of, so, okay, real quick, J Mike, I don't know if we will ever, or if we already have repeated a draft. I will never know that. I hope that you can remember that, or guests can remember that, or the chat can remember that, because I won't know. But I did pass by an episode that said sauced, and I don't remember if it was like sauces that we drafted, like condiment type of sauces that we drafted.
We have done condiments. I do know that.
Okay. Have we drafted gravy yet?
I don't know that we've drafted gravy. I think that'll be a new one.
And when I say gravy, I mean, quote unquote sauce, but come on. I think we're all Italian at this point.
I think
Or
this
New York Italian.
I think this will be a fun way to go out. It'll be
All
good.
Perfect. So, and Kyle, shout out to you, my friend. I did hook you up here. I looked up your I think it's Decamillos. Mellows. I did look it up. It's real. It's a bakery. All right. This is a thing, but I just want to touch on this real quick, because I'm a little disappointed about this so-called Italian bakery. It kind of disappointed me, really. So check this out. So we're here on the main screen here. Decamilla Bakery. They're doing something for Mother's Day. That's cute. This picture is really weird, but they're doing something for Mother's Day.
Sponsored by Decamillos.
This show is sponsored by, just they need to update the picture. I don't know about that. Maybe we can Photoshop like, J Mike and I doing something like that, or maybe that would be weird. I don't know. Anyway, so I was looking here, products. Where was I? Italian, breads. Oh, here we go. Under breads. So we got Italian scaletta breads, breadsticks, tartellini, pasta, and what?
That's too
Pasta
tiny
and
for
what,
me.
y'all?
It says sauces.
It says sauces. So I don't even know what's what anymore. I don't know what's Italian, what's New York. I just know gravy is gravy. Okay. So this is, I don't know if this is called a gravy draft, but that's what we're going to call it to differentiate. And you can even slide into that to what you might think a gravy is. A gravy, a gravy. Sure. So gravy draft. This is how it works. It's always this big breakdown of a draft. This is how it works. J Mike's like, get me out of here, bro. You and your drafts, man. All right. So we have a gravy draft. You have to, one, select a gravy. I don't care if that's like technically a sauce or like actually a gravy in your mind. Don't care. Just pick one. But you always have to compare that gravy / sauce to, you guessed it, a player. And y'all are PTs. You could probably throw an injury twist on it. I don't know. This can be a rookie. This can be a player that's already in the NFL. No retirees, please. We're still playing fantasy football in this game here. All right. So that is your kind of first, second thing there. And then, of course, your outro. Say what you need to say about yourself. Talk to the people. Say hello to my mother, J Mike's mother. Everybody involved. Look, who would win between J Mike's mom and my mom? Gravy battle. Who would win right now? One word answers. That's what I thought.
J Mike.
Well, J Mike is bigger, so I'm gonna go with J Mike's mama probably putting some nice gravy together. Hey, look.
My mother's a personal chef.
I was just about to say the piece of information that you all weren't able to dig up from the high school transcription. Gabe's mother is a personal chef, so my mom's fantastic. She's a great cook.
Yeah,
she really
Look,
is.
I don't care what she is.
It's different strokes. It's different strokes, J Mike.
Me and J Mike are big boys, and you don't become a big boy without some good home cooking. All
right, that's facts. I mean, they really are. They're different strokes. All right. Anyway, you need to draft a gravy. You need to compare that gravy to a player. You need to say what you need to say about yourself. Do we understand the rules, newcomers of the game? All right. Ethan's been around the block. All right. He's got like 4 gravies in the tuck. Okay. Ready to get gravied. So, I mean, Adam, if you feel like the 101, 102 is going to be taken from you, I can put you up right now. Or I can start with the vet. I can start with Ethan if you'd like. How you feeling?
I want to give long enough. I want to give like a super profound answer, and I'm totally freezing up right now. You might have to start with Ethan.
Ethan, gravy draft 101.
Let me tell you about the greatest gravy on the planet.
Uh-oh.
All right.
Oh boy.
My grandmother is classic old-time cook. I think she's used the same skillet my entire life. That thing has been through the ringer. We ain't never bought grandma a new skillet because it has been seasoned to perfection. All right. My grandmother makes the best fried chicken on the planet. Okay. She uses the leftovers because everyone knows that gravy is not healthy for you. So just accept it. She got to use the grits, all the goodness from that chicken. That is the best chicken on the planet, homemade fried chicken, to make the most incredible white gravy that you have ever had or will ever have. It might be 10,000 calories. I don't care. Every time it's perfect. Every time it's filled with love. And every time it delivers. Okay? And if we're playing this game to compare to players that always deliver, the guy's name is Travis Kelce. He always delivers. He's finally seasoned to perfection. The dude's been doing it for ever. He's got every year you draft Travis Kelce and you put him in your tight end slot and you say, I don't have to worry about it ever again. That's the same thing as my grandma's gravy. It's perfect every year. Every time I have it, I'm just so glad that I have been blessed with the experience of that gravy. Just like every time I draft Travis Kelce, I'm blessed to have the tight end one in the NFL. So if anybody's got better gravy than that, freaking good luck. 101 of gravies. No comment.
I should have got first.
Don't forget your outro, E.
Oh, outro. Dr. Ethan, you can find me on the Fantasy Headliners YouTube channel. I am in the process of buying a farm, so I'm probably not going to be doing much YouTube content, but you can buy my injury guide at thefantasyheadliners.com. If you loved this injury history knowledge, if you want to know something that you can't find anywhere else, I mean, I love Adam, but I'm teaching him stuff today. If you want some goodness, you go buy the injury guide. You'll never get it anywhere else, even though Adam's probably going to put in his thread for free, but it's cool. We'll talk about it later. Go buy that. It's $20 this year. Sorry that I'm spending hundreds of hours collecting injury history data for you and you have to pay for it. But like, don't be mad. Just buy the guide. I promise you it will help you in your rookie drafts. It will help you succeed in fantasy football. Don't waste your draft picks on guys that are going to get hurt in the NFL. The best predictor we have of future injury is previous injury. Go buy the guide and you're going to love it. I guarantee it.
And did you say that, what is it, like less than a bowl of chili at Wendy's? Like, how much is it?
I mean, it's definitely made with better ingredients.
I know, I agree, but it's less than that garbage and you get so much more.
Yeah, it might be a little bit more expensive than their fake chili, but it's definitely worth it. Like, skip the chili for a month, J. Mike, and buy the guide, and you'll be happy that you did it.
Yep. All right. 102. Kyle, we're just hitting clockwise at this point. So,
Sure.
Kyle, Bills Mafia, look, Adam, I gave you your chance. Adam. Now you're gonna hope that Kyle doesn't steal that 102 from you. So, Bills Mafia, Kyle, your 102 gravy, your player to compare, and your outro, my friend.
Man, after following that with Ethan, I'm trying to think what the heck I can even add to the conversation. I'm going to stick with the standard brown gravy you get at the store. You know that every time you get it, you know what you're getting, and you're not going to be disappointed, and it'll get the job done. So in terms of fantasy, who do I want to pick that's getting the job done every time? Just trying to think who I would want to get in fantasy, like who's my target every time.
Surely, Kyle, you've got a guy. Who's your
I
guy?
know. I'm trying to think who I try to target every time.
Too easy
there.
I mean, you
I'm
don't
going
have
with
to
Adrian
leave
Pearson. That guy. I'm going with Adrian Pearson. That guy continues to produce, even though he's had some major injuries, and despite him being old. No, I'm going to change that. Frank Gore. That guy continues to produce year in, year out, despite being 80 years old. Frank Gore is you know what you're getting. He's going to show up. He's going to produce. He might not get you the elite production anymore, but if you need something, he can still get out there and do it. I'm going to stick with that.
Frank Gore, the RB3 of the new franchise, of whatever that franchise is, in 3005.
Yes.
Wait. All right. And did we get an outro from you, Kyle?
No, we did not. So you can find me at Kyle Trimble 88. I do work for the Game Day NFL, and they also do MLB, NBA sports betting stuff. So you can find me over there. I also do Bills-centric stuff under the Twitter handle Banged Up Bills. I do a lot of in-season injury analysis, looking at that and how that impacts the weekly lineups. I do work for CoverOne.net with the NFL injury draft analysis. I do some work for Buffalo Rumblings, which is an SB Nation website. I do injury spine for Pro Football Doc, Dr. David Chow. I'm trying to think who else or what else I've done here. I kind of have my hands dipped in everything. Just trying to expand what I can do and take all the opportunities I can get out there, because I find the only way to improve doing what I'm doing is by collaborating and getting the work out there and gets more eyes on it and helps me grow as a PT and know what I'm doing. So if you got an injury about any sport or specifically Bills stuff, I'm your guy to go to. And sports betting, I'm learning more about that. So, but Bills stuff, I'm your guy, and don't look anywhere else.
Mafia,
and I will also say that I wish every team had a guy like Kyle. This is like true. I've told him this before, but like,
yes,
my job is so much easier when I'm talking about a Bills player because Kyle knows it all. He's so incredibly useful to Bills Mafia. I just want to throw that out there because I pray for people to do what Kyle does because it would make my job a lot easier. So I will second that Kyle needs to be followed. He is very, very bright, especially about the Bills stuff, but for all the injury stuff. I mean, he is really good at it. And that's not me just blowing smoke up his ass either. Like, I actually really like Kyle's work. It's really incredible.
I do appreciate that. And I've found that it's been very well received by the Bills fan base. And you can see elsewhere, I've had other teams kind of jump in my mentions here and there. So it's like, it would be helpful if every team had that, but maybe, I don't know, maybe a few years or something. But right now, I think that the Bills fan base has an edge because of what content can provide them. So I try to keep doing that. And I think it's helped me grow as PT and as a fan and just doing what I do better.
Every team needs their Kyle Trimble.
Yes.
That's facts. Real quick, Kyle.
Yes.
You said you put your hand in everything. Or you did
not
your
chili.
hand in everything.
Not chili.
Yeah, maybe not chili, but your 102 draft was gravy. Okay.
Yeah.
The store-bought gravy, whatever, put on your mashed potatoes, right? Something like that, or
Salisbury steak,
Salisbury steak, sure. Your turkey at Thanksgiving, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me this, Kyle, since we went on the back and forth of breaking through tables, that you would what'd you say you would do versus breaking through a table? You would have you would break through the table versus the chili. Is that right?
I would break through multiple tables and break a leg instead of eating the chili.
Versus the chili. Okay, so tell me this. What about the gravy? Would you do a gravy bath? What would you do? Gravy bath or break through a table for the Mafia? Gravy bath, full-on gravy bath.
Part of me wants to break the tables because that'd be toward what the team, like, that's what we're known for, even though that's not ideally what we want to do. But I feel like the gravy bath would be far more enjoyable than breaking my leg.
Yeah. I don't necessarily have to break a leg. What if you could make gravy bath kind of a thing for like the, after you break through the table? Like, no, don't go to the hospital. Take a gravy bath. All right, next, put it into, do some research.
Yeah. They get a big enough hot tub vat. There's those available ones there. So,
all right. 103. Adam, it's on you, baby. You need a gravy, you need a player, and you need to talk about yourself.
Alrighty. So the gravy, the sauce that I'm going to be drafting is not super common. You can find it at, like some Whole Foods. You got to go to some fancy stores. It's called Huckberry pasta sauce, black truffle. All right. It's a little fancy. When you eat this pasta sauce, it's one that you put your pinkies up, you're fine dining, you're eating with your friends. It's got a little zip to it too. I mean, it's not your average sauce. It's not your average gravy. There's something different about this sauce, and you're kind of wondering what it was. So if I had to compare that to my player, he's my favorite player. He's a rookie. He's coming out this year. That would be Rondale Moore from Purdue, my alma mater. Dude's got some zip. I mean, he's a little jitterbug. He's something, I think he's definitely an outlier. He could be something that's a little bit different, something that could stand out on your fantasy football teams. Somebody that I really enjoy. It's a treat to get in and watch him play, like it would be to eat this sauce. So that's who I would tie that into is my boy. It's definitely another way to promote one of my favorite players in this draft class. That would be Rondale Moore. You can find me and my work on Twitter at @therealadam_H. I write for the Undroppables website. We've got a draft guide coming out for all rookies, not just injury related. And spoiler alert, your boy just wrote the draft guide information for Rondale Moore, so check that out. No purchase necessary. It's going to be available to everybody on the undroppables.com. There'll also be some nuggets in there about specific injury histories that I've tweeted out already, but also you can find it right on the website. It'll be linked to those specific player injury guides. Give you as far as you want to dive deep into their injury histories, things that I've seen and whatnot. But that's mainly what I'm working on these days.
Okay. I almost went there. I honestly,
Did you?
Yes, I almost went Rondale Moore for my player to comp. But I ended up going a different direction, but I'll see you there when I get there. I don't know, J Mike. I feel like I'm not going to steal your pick. No, look at Jay.
Not today.
Look at that.
In this audio form, as I shake my head, no.
Yeah.
Yes. Podcast.
Right. No, you should have seen the way that he looked at me.
So do you want 104? You want me to take it?
I'll take it. I feel like we're not on the same page tonight.
Go for it.
I mean, we are, just like, I feel like gravy is just a different level of, sauce.
Do you?
In other words. All right. So 104, here we go. Yeah. I figure we can segue into the Rondale Moore thing. So, and I make them silly videos on the internet, right? So they say. Fridge so big. What do they got a shelf for? Say it with me, podcast listeners. Say it with me. That's right. The leftovers. We got a fridge so big, we got a shelf for the leftovers. Now, I'm bending the leftovers a little bit, okay? Because we are not, us, the Gearings, we are not good at utilizing all of our produce in our fridge within, the probably reasonable allotted time where it's crunchy, where it's good, where it's probably a little more nutritious. We're definitely waiting for that last bit of vitamin A, vitamin K that is hanging on to, whatever vegetable that exists inside of our fridge. Okay. It might be asparagus. It might be Brussels sprouts. Okay. It might be broccoli. It could be carrots. It could be mushrooms. All right. Onion, the bell peppers. All right. Garlic's going to be fine no matter what, really. But all those things. Okay. So this literally happens. This literally happened not but 2 days ago. We get all of these vegetables and things in our fridge and we're like, what are we going to do with all of this? And so we decide to make a, bit of a stir fry of sorts. Okay. With our rice ramen. Okay. Rice ramen noodles. You know that we're gluten-free in this house. Okay. Get up out of here, wheat. Come on. Okay. So we got our rice ramen noodles. We got all of our veggies, but of course you have to have the right sauce, the right gravy to get this thing going. So it is an Asian inspired dish. Okay. So we've got our soy sauce. We've got our sesame oil. We've got our ginger, our red pepper chili flakes, our chili powder. All right. The brown sugar. Okay. We're mixing these things together. If you want to make it extra, kind of creamy, do your cornstarch, but you're going to have to add maybe a little water to that to make it a little bit thicker, creamier. That's on you. That's your gravy journey that you can take. For me, no cornstarch, just a little trickle throughout the noodles and the veggies. Okay. I don't know if there's a name for this. It's just kind of like a sesame ginger sauce of sorts, sesame ginger gravy, excuse me. This is my 104. And the reason why I say this is because I just pulled like so many things, right? And I had leftovers. All right. They've been left. They just been put in the fridge. Okay. Left to dry, left to moisturize, left to mold. We've been eating, the Gearing's been eating mold for years. All right. They've been aging. Okay. And what y'all been doing in your drafts is letting these quote unquote aging wide receivers just fall to me, fall to J Mike, fall to our 3 PTs in the building. And today I'm talking about Keenan Allen. All right. The disrespect for Keenan Allen, man. Keenan Allen said in a video the other day, he said, who would I pick at wide receiver at Devontae Adams or Devontae Adams? He didn't even pick himself. So that means he's the 103 in that pick. All right. Keenan Allen will probably continue to be disrespected. One of the best route runners in the game. Now is in tandem with a quote unquote elite quarterback as far as ADP goes, and is going to deliver same results this year and beyond. All right. Jared Cook, sure, have your fun, but it ain't Hunter Henry. We got Eckler. He's in the building. Mike Williams, love you always, but Herbert's going to dish. And so am I, as I pour my veggies and gluten-free rice ramen noodles into a plate with my Asian sesame ginger gravy. And that's the draft, 104. Do you want to follow that up, J Mike, at 105, or is that it? Is that good?
No, that's good.
Yeah,
that was strong.
All right.
No, it was strong. To our guests, thank you guys for joining us. To the folks in the chat, appreciate y'all as well for having fun with us, and to everybody that's listening to us in podcast form, we appreciate you. If you want to if you want to rate, if you want to review, go for it. If not, that's fine too. You could have spent this time with anyone else in the world. You could have been in a hospital with tubes come out of every orifice. But you were here with us, and we appreciate you. Again, I'm on Twitter at JMikeCheck. The show's handles at the Open Bar Pod, and my main man, the host with the most, Bungie, Genius the MC, FF Red Gravy, FF Gravy Train, FF Sprinkle Some Sugar, baby, FF What That PT Mean, FF Kohler Boy, FF Socket Wrench, last but certainly not least, FF Valgus.
Yeah.
On Twitter at FF Man Bun. Gabe, take us home.
That might be your best collection of names, actually. That was good. Those were good. Yeah, well done. Bravo. Brava. All right, so we're done. We're out of here, man. I'm gonna take the. Wait, did you draft? Did you draft a gravy?
I did not. No, I was skipping.
You didn't want to?
No,
right.
I'm toast.
He's toast. He put it. Okay, I got you. Oh, I see what you did there. He's got toast, and he's doing the avocado blend onto the toast because he's FF hipster at the end of the day. No. All right. So the avocado is his gravy. Whatever you can do with avocado, swirl it in the guacamole. I don't know. That's J Mike's thing. FF gravy in the building. All right. That's it. So this has been the Open Bar. Oh, gee whiz, J Mike. I didn't look. This was not me. I just looked at the time, and it was not me. I promise it wasn't me. Okay, so we're done. We're out of here. This has been the Open Bar. J Mike, he's got a journal. He's doing the dummies. The draft is coming up. Go listen to him for like actual knowledge of draft things that aren't necessarily medical related, but I bet he weaves that into the game because, borrowing brilliance and all. Follow our 3 PTs. Follow all the PTs unless they say you can recover from an ACL in 6 months in the NFL. Wink, wink. Ethan. No. Okay. All right. Yeah. So this has been the Open Bar. J Mike, we got a show next week, fam. We're getting it. We're getting into it. It's April. It's draft season. Yeah, that's it. I don't know. We'll see y'all next week. I guess. Yeah. Cheers, fam. You don't have to, but you can, with a fist or with a hello or a goodbye. I like the fist. And Ethan's like, you dead to me. It's called sauce, not gravy. Shout out to all women in the FF industry and all women all over the world. Rest in peace, George Floyd. And let's celebrate life, baby. This is the Open Bar. We will see you all next week. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. I was ready to get on the piano, J Mike. All right, deuces.